Are you a basketball player who's experienced some low points along your journey? Have you struggled with self-doubt as you're striving to achieve your big dreams? Well, today, I'm going to share some valuable lessons that can help you through those times. This is something that any basketball player, or really any athlete, can use to help them through those times. And I'm going to take these lessons straight from the pages of Kirk Herbstreit's book, Out of the Pocket. Let's jump in and discuss. Welcome back to Hard Smart Together. I'm Coach Dave. I'm here every week to help basketball players become the smart, confident players that coaches love. So this week we're wrapping up summer. I can tell we're wrapping up summer because it's really hot. But fall is right there. You can feel fall. It's right there, and I love this time of year. I love this time of year for a lot of reasons. One, we're all anticipating the start of basketball season. But in addition to being a basketball coach and a basketball fan, I'm also a huge college football fan. So I don't know if you're a college football fan or even a football fan. If you even follow the sport, you'll still get really good value out of what we're going to talk about today, because I'm going to talk about a personality, one of the sportscasters that is known as kind of Mr. Football, Kirk Herbstreit. And I'm a big fan of Kirk Herbstreit's. This time of year, you'll find me 6 a.m. up watching College Gameday, snacking on some Pop-Tarts every Saturday morning to watch the show College Gameday. Love the personalities on there. But Kirk Herbstreit really stands out as one of the most famous kind of football sportscasters, as well as really like sportscasters that we have right now on ESPN. And so Kirk Herbstreit has a book out, Kirk Herbstreit, Out of the Pocket. Don't know if you've read it, but I decided to read it before this college football season started because I'm always fascinated in really successful people, especially athletes, coaches, things like that. I'm always fascinated in what's their story? How did they get there? Okay? What obstacles did they overcome? Things of that nature. And this story was really fascinating. And it wasn't just a fascinating story, which it was. I highly recommend you get the book and read it if you love those kind of stories. But what I learned is there was kind of 4 themes that I pulled out of it, 4 lessons, if you will, that could apply to my audience, to you basketball players, and really to any young athlete who might be, like I said, hitting those low points along your journey or struggling with self-doubt, because I think we can learn a lot from looking at the stories of really successful people, successful athletes that go on and do great things. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit's about as successful as you get in the world of sports. So what can you learn from this book, Out of the Pocket? I'm just going to pull 4 lessons out that you can learn. One is, you're not the only one struggling with self-doubt, okay? Kirk Herbstreit, he had kind of a difficult childhood, family life, had some struggles there. He had a really successful high school athletic career. He was a 5-star recruit quarterback, could have had his pick of schools to go to. Of course, he had his dream school, Ohio State. And his dad went to Ohio State. His dad was a captain on Ohio State. So he had kind of a legacy, and he had grown up being a huge Ohio State fan. But he was a successful baseball player, a successful football player, a quarterback, came in feeling pretty good. He got recruited, obviously, by Ohio State as well as other schools. But there was self-doubt when he got to Ohio State. He didn't achieve that immediate success. In fact, he sat for 4 years. He almost considered quitting football. They were trying to play him on defense at one point. There were some real low points along his career until he got to his 5th year and got to start at quarterback for Ohio State and achieve one of his dreams, right? There was pretty much a 4-year low point there that he struggled. He struggled with some self-doubt. But what did he do with that self-doubt? That self-doubt actually drove him, and that's really lesson number 1. That self-doubt drove him to work on his craft, work on his skills as a football player, work on his game the whole way through. He always was a worker. He always wanted to be prepared, over-prepared in some cases. As he transitioned from college to become a sportscaster on radio at first, and then kind of small TV, and then ESPN, and then on to Game Day, each step along the way, he struggled with self-doubt, like, am I really ready for this? I mean, there's plenty of quotes throughout the book where he's like, I don't know if I'm ready. So what did he do? He doubled down on his work. He worked on his craft. He over-prepared. There's some funny stories in there about interviews where he showed up like and spent the whole night preparing for this interview and done all this work, and it was overkill, but for him, that's how he addressed his self-doubt. He made sure he was prepared. He worked on his skills. He worked on the habits that he could rely on that would propel him into the next step and on to success. So that's a lesson for you. Number 1, even though you're struggling with these low points, these self-doubts, focus on what you can control. Focus on building your skills, building your habits, and working on your craft, whatever that might be. We're talking about basketball, but that could be sports, that could be school, that could be a career. It doesn't matter. Really use those low points. Use that little doubt that creeps into your head is, am I good enough? Am I prepared enough to put in the work to build those skills that you can depend on? Number 2, don't neglect mindset. I know, some people totally buy into this whole idea of mindset and being mentally tough and things of that nature, but it's important. It's interesting. Between Kirk, like at the end of his 4th year at Ohio State, the athletic department brought in a sports psychiatrist. And the football team's reaction, especially the coaches, were kind of rolling the eyes. He's introducing himself to the team. Here I am, a resource for you. And they're like, no, we're big tough guys. We don't go in for all that, sports psychiatry or, mindset or any of that. We're football players. But something got Kirk to go and introduce himself to this guy between his 4th and his 5th year. Well, he credits a lot of the mindset work that they did and really kind of dealing with a lot of those negative thoughts in his head that he has and a lot of that self-doubt. He credits that relationship to propelling him to becoming a starter his 5th year and achieving a lot of his dreams at Ohio State. Getting to achieve some. He didn't achieve all his dreams, but he was pretty darn successful his 5th year, being a starting quarterback at Ohio State. Hey, I'll get back to the episode in just a second. I hope you're enjoying today's episode, and if you are, please share it. Share it with a player, share it with a parent, share it with a coach, anybody that you feel might need to hear it. I also wanted to give you a free gift that I've made available to you just for hanging out with me today. It's a checklist of skills for basketball players that want to become a better player, a better teammate, and to stand out to their coaches. Now, these skills are skills that are often overlooked, but they can be the foundation that a player can use to really achieve their goals. You can download it at hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. I'll put a link below in the description as well, but it's hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. Now let's jump back to today's episode. So don't neglect your mindset. What's another thing, another lesson you can take from this book and from his story, his journey? Make the best decision for you at the time. And what do I mean by that? There's a couple of examples that stand out with Kirk. One is during his recruiting journey. Yeah, he had a dream. He wanted to be at Ohio State for his family legacy and for, his just all of the reasons that he was a fan and grew up basically living Ohio State football. But between the time he was recruited, he was a RPO quarterback, which is run pass option. It's a style of football. You don't need to really know football. Just know that that's a style. And that the coaching staff that recruited him to Ohio State recruited him in because that was the style he played. Well, between the time that he got recruited and the time that he showed up at Ohio State, there was a coaching change. Now, this new coaching staff had a different style. They were traditional pocket passing, offense, and he didn't fit in that scheme. But he made the decision to continue going to that school, and he made the decision to stick it out at Ohio State for a number of reasons. He made the decision not to quit football. He made the decision to, keep working towards his dreams. Maybe when it would have been easier to just say, I don't fit there anymore, and just go to, God forbid, Michigan or another school that fit his style a little bit better. He made the best decision for him at the time, and it worked out pretty darn good because he's achieved a lot of success. Another area, when he was just getting out of college, he was looking for jobs. He didn't get drafted. He didn't want to really tag around and be a third string quarterback in the NFL or Canadian Football League or whatever the case might be. So he was looking at the option between being a sales rep for like medical devices, or his dream in the back of his mind was, even though he didn't take these courses in college, he wanted to be in kind of sports talk. He wanted to be on the radio like the guys he had listened to in the past. He wanted to be part of that world. Now, he got faced with a choice. He actually got an offer to be a sales rep. Something like $100,000 salary. Back then it was big money. Bonuses, a company car, benefits, the works. Gets to stay in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, where he was living. Everything was great. He got an offer for a radio gig. He'd be kind of like a second personality on one little show, and they could pay like $12,000 a year, no benefits, no car, no guarantee, no nothing. Everybody's like, well, that's an obvious choice. Time to give up the sports stuff. You're going to go on and become a successful sales rep and, start your life there. But he made a different choice. He made the choice that was right for him at the time. He chose radio. I'd say that choice ultimately paid off. At the time, everybody thought he was crazy. His girlfriend, his friends, like, whoa, you're turning down what? For what? But for him, that was the right choice. So the next lesson you can take from this is make the best choice for you at the time. Every choice that you make, what team you play on, what AAU team you play on, all these choices that, make the best choice for you. They're not life and death choices. I'm sure if he had, failed miserably at being a commentator on the radio, a couple of years later, could he have gone and picked it back up in sales? Sure. So, but it worked out pretty well for him. So make the best choices for you. And then the last real great lesson you can take from his story is focus on relationships. Man, it's fascinating the amount of relationships that he built over his time, as a high school athlete, a college athlete, at Ohio State. I talked about the mindset coach that he worked with. That was one big relationship. But there was relationships that helped propel him each step of the way. Whether it was getting recruited to Ohio State, whether it was, coaches, teammates, the mindset coach that he worked with, right? All helped him along his athletic career at Ohio State. When he got out of Ohio State, hey, it was connections, it was relationships that got him the interview with the sales job. It was relationships, connections that got him the interview with the radio station. When he was at the radio station, it was connections and relationships that he had built that got him to TV, that got him to ESPN, that got him to a bigger show, that got him on Game Day. It was relationships at game day that have helped propel him to become kind of like Mr. Football in America, right? It was relationships like, Chris Fowler, and if you know the show, Coach Corso. He credits all these people. You don't have to do it alone. When you're an athlete, sometimes you kind of feel like you're alone. But family, friends, coaches, administrators, teachers, contacts, everybody that comes through along your path is a relationship that can help propel you on your pathway to success. So those are the 4 things that I think you can really take away from this. I still recommend buy the book and read it because it's a fascinating story. And I love reading stories about successful people, especially athletes. But as an athlete, again, when you're struggling with self-doubt, double down and focus on building your skills and habits, working on your craft. Number 2, don't neglect your mindset. I know we work on our physical bodies and on our skills there, but mindset can be a difference maker. Number 3, make the best decision for you at the time that you're making a decision. And number 4, focus on relationships. Those are the people in your life that are going to help you throughout life, throughout school, throughout college, throughout your career, throughout your athletic career, every step of the way. Focus on building those relationships. So a little bit of a different talk today. Not necessarily a book review, but love the book. Highly recommend you go out and read it. But those are some important things that you can take away as a young basketball player. So always like the likes. If you enjoyed this and you want me to share more, I'm always reading. So if you want me to share more of these kind of things, let me know in a comment below. And until next week, remember to play hard, play smart, and play together. See you next week.